Peace and blessings. Namaste to all light warriors, workers, and everything in between. It is I, Sophie, today. And this is going to be, or I'm going to try to be a short message, but sometimes when I get to speaking and it just comes through, it just starts coming through. I have been experiencing uh, anomalies with time. Okay, and I'm putting this out there, as a witness to certain things, in case other people might be experiencing this too. And I have decided to be the brave soul to come forth with it. So, I'm gonna give you a few examples of what it is that I'm meaning. Um, I was on my way right to a campground to volunteer right on in this campground with some local youths, and we had a tower and some boating exercises and things of that nature. And I was supposed to be there by 8:30. All right. And I already timed it, how long the commute was. It was going to take me about an hour and 30 minutes. I left out in enough time, about a little bit over 2 hours just to make sure that I got there on time. However, I hit some traffic on the way, and it didn't slow me down too much. I'm still looking at my GPS. Okay, I'm still going to get there about 8:15. Good deal. So as I'm writing, I decide, I'm going to stop and get me a little breakfast. Just some hash browns and coffee and something like that. And I get stuck in this drive-through, and I am in full panic mode now because what I'm seeing is my GPS is starting to project, me getting there later. And I never like to be late. I'm always early. And if I'm on time, I'm considered myself late because I don't have preparation. So I am starting to panic and I can't get out the line. There's people behind me, there's people in front of me, and there's nowhere to go. So now I'm just putting it into my mind, what type of excuse am I going to come in there with? Okay, I can't come in there with a bag of breakfast, because then they're going to be like, why didn't you take care of that beforehand? So as I'm going through this and I just come into a calm and I say, okay, this is my first time that I'm late, and I'm just going to have to explain that I'm late. I get out of the drive through, I hit the main road, and everything rewinded back, and it was only like 8 a.m. Do you see what I'm saying? I have found myself looking at a clock, rushing towards that clock just to come back and look at it again, and it's an hour behind. You know, something like stuff like that has happened like about 3 times with me where I'm not getting the timing right. When I feel like I'm being late or I'm struggling with something, then all of a sudden it has rewinded itself and it's caused me to be on time again. And these little weird anomalies have happened recently, along with the skies that look picture perfect. And if you understand Sophie and how I think, picture perfect is automatically red flag for me. I mean, with the clouds is looks like it should be on a painting, but they're not moving. They're sitting there like, that's how the sky looks. It's gorgeous, but things of that nature that is starting to pick up a little bit. And I'm not really sharing too much about these experiences to people. Not saying that they would not get it, but it's been happening so frequency that part of it is still me trying to pinpoint what it is. And I realize now, with a lot of things that I have been learning, a lot of things that I've been talking to you about, a lot of places that I travel to, at night, that the only way to really, come into a state of peace, on this realm is to get into a state of acceptance. Okay. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean about that. Um, this world is comprised with many different species. Okay. I mean, you got the animal kingdom, you got humanity, you got star seeds, you got ancient souls, you got dragon seeds, you got earth angels and elves, everybody's here, right? On this earth, it's like a giant, giant melting pot. And everybody is not going to think the exact same way. And I told you a long time ago that there were certain type of books and studies that was cloaked for people. And what I meant by cloaked was not the fact that they were, invisible. It's just that it became a non-priority. Like you would see it, but you wouldn't really see it. Whereas to those that these books called out to genetically, you see it and you focus on it. Where others will see it and they don't really see it with their third eye, so they're not going to pick up these books. Okay. we have gotten to a point where we have to understand human evolution, okay, how they think versus how other species thinks. And when you get to this level of understanding, then you stop putting things in black and white, okay? You stop uh, um, narrating things with a certain narrative or placing a label upon it, because you're understanding now that throughout generations and throughout evolution also comes the expansion of thought, right? There are species, that are here that have the divine spark in them, that are highly, 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 highly emotional. Okay. And for the most part, that's humanity. Humanity will process things a little bit more heavily, more deeply, okay, because they have the divine spark, they have the empathy, they have that love, right? But then you'll have certain humans, well, you think that they're human, who seem to be void of that. These are serial killers. These are, baby murderers, things of that nature. Any type of horrific type of behavior or event that takes away or strips them from the humanity, you have to see it now for what it is. Perhaps they weren't human. Okay, certain species do certain things to survive, and unfortunately they're amongst you. Okay, and amongst us as well. We tend to do things on a level of consciousness that is relatable to the species that we are dealing with. Okay, so for a long time, we have this issue with different religions, and why are we fighting all over the earth? Okay, and why is nations against nations and things of that nature, if everything was designed to bring you closer to learning how to live peaceably with your neighbor and also with the divine? Okay, if we all had certain principles that we were supposed to live by, why all of the fighting? Why all of the confusion, right? And it's because humanity, once they have adopted a principle that they believe, resonates with them, they will stick to the end by that principle. And it becomes increasingly difficult to get them to evolve to a higher state of consciousness or another thought, especially if they believe that the thought that they originally had was working for them. We get caught up in the fighting of, whether this was false or this was true or this was, made up or hypothetical and this, that, the third. I have explained a long time ago, when it comes down to these religious and sacred texts, that we should be paying attention to the principle behind it and not necessarily the stories, okay? You get upset when you find out little later on that maybe this story didn't exactly happen the way that it was written, right? Or maybe this story exaggerated, or maybe it was borrowed from this culture and revamped, or plagiarized. Whatever it is that you think, that bothers you about religion, the only reason why it's still bothering you is because of your mindset towards it, okay? I want you to consider as being parents when you're raising your children and when they're small, right? And you're trying to teach certain concepts to children who have not had, an adult experience or that highly developed mind. You tend to read them stories, Aesop fables, parables. Everybody know the Cat in the Hat is not real. Dr. Seuss is not real, but you're using these stories as a way to convey a principle to a child in the way that they could receive it. Okay. And a lot of times I know that people want to crucify me for this, and that's okay. I've been dealing with that for a long time. Okay. But in a way, you have to look at that as the way that your religious text was written as well. Okay. Some of them have many truths to it, and some of them does not. They have exaggerations, examples, because humanity as a whole was a baby species. Okay, so how are we going to teach a baby some high level concepts unless we make it relatable in one way or another? And it's like when you find out, or you start to really do some deep research and you realize, okay, well, this might not have been 100% true. Was that designed to go ahead and turn you against the principle itself? No, you still want to learn from the principle. You just now acknowledge that the origin behind it may have been exaggerated. Okay? And then when you are called and you are waking up to certain text that is calling out to you because of your level of comprehension, Then you can go into the deeper sciences, and then you understand why it makes sense. And you're no longer bitter and fighting with your brothers and sisters who are all receiving information on the level that they can handle it. Okay? You should be able at this point to have your differences. Okay? To have your different levels of understanding and still coexist to build something great. If everybody just understood what the principle was designed to teach you and stop focusing on the letter of things. Okay? The letter becomes your guide and becomes your reality if you don't have the ability to adopt, absorb, and change. You will stay stuck in that area of or that era of Dr. Seuss fables and tales, okay, that are very much designed to teach you if you know how to perceive it correctly. Once you know the as above, so below principle, and let me explain it to you this way, okay, because this is important for you dragon seeds while you are still trying to create and revamp some things that was currently a little, yeah, you know what I mean? We're still trying to learn from certain things. So, um, the reason why we say we co create our reality, okay, is because your perception, okay, and your perspective of everything revamps the way your life actually looks to you and plan out. The as above, so below type principle is not just one way. Okay, so if we're going to take your biblical concepts, okay, because you're going to start off. Most people do start off in some type of religion, okay, and following things down to the letter to train the mind on how to identify that which is righteous, that is which is unrighteous, that which is healthy for your soul, and that which is not healthy for your soul. And then eventually, of course, you gravitate past that and you start to see the bigger picture, okay, and then you no longer need these writings to teach you that because it's a part of you now, okay. You become the logos, you become the walking talking book, okay. So for most people, Christianity was the biggest one, okay? And a lot of people overlooked a lot of the horrendous things that came out of Christianity. You know, um, we don't even want to get into that, but we know that Christianity did not come without its level of deaths and persecutions and things of that nature, right? But if we go past that, the human interpretation of what the scriptures was meant to teach you, and you go into the divinity behind it, then you know that none of those things was really supposed to happen, right? But in one, just to go into the book of the New Testament, we're going to go into the New Testament. And you always see, when you see Yeshua praying and he says, on earth as it is in heaven. Okay. And we understand that that's a law of correspondence, right? And you're understanding that that's a as above, so below principle. But the way that that is presented is that, that there is a design that is in the heavenly realms that the earth is supposed to mirror. Okay, so the things that are going on in those higher realms are supposed to mirror down to the lower realms, right? And then later on, when you're reading it, you'll also read, whatever we bind on earth shall be bound on heaven, and whatever we loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So now you're seeing the working in reverse. Okay, so you're also witnessing that the earth realm has the ability to affect the higher realms as well. Okay, so this is an even law. This is an even law. One drips down, one comes down and affects us on this realm, and another one goes up based off of our experiences on this realm. The feedback that we are giving is how we are revamping even the higher realms. Okay? So this is just to let you know how important your work on this earth really, really is. Whether or not people are going to learn to identify with you, understand you, or agree with you is a moot point at this time. If you have already contracted to come here and make that change, it is important that you make it. It is important that you make it. All right. So we see that these laws are going back and forth. So that lets you know that we are tethered, okay, to our higher self and our lower self, okay, to our ancestors that may still be on the earth or the ones that have ascended already, okay, that went through this journey. The important thing to know is what you'll start to notice is different species. Okay, I'm sorry. Here come the sweaties. I'm on fire. I'm on fire, guys. What you'll start to realize is different species, according to their evolution, they may or may not process information the way that you do. Okay, there were parts in your scriptures that would say, man's ways is not like God's ways, and that is 100% true, because a younger species processes information from their immediate experience. The more advanced you become in your thinking, the more expansive you become in your thinking, the more you start to identify with the bigger picture. Okay, the purpose. So you're not really focusing right so much in the right now as you are in the future. So a lot of beings will look ahead, and they have learned how to, process by balancing the masculine and feminine principles, how to look at things both logically, and creatively, expansively, intuitively. And once you balance these things, things don't look the same. Things don't look the same. So we're not going to be as emotional when we're making decisions. Okay? Emotions are beautiful. Okay? It's what it takes to be human. All right? We have the divine spark. This is how we empathize with others. This is how we, assist others. This is how we become selfless. Okay, dealing with emotions and empathizing with somebody else's experiences, whether or not you have experienced it yourself. You may not have gone through that exact experience, but your heart goes out to it because you're understanding the feelings, right? But the more conscious that you become, you'll still have these feelings, but the way that you process the information may be a little bit different. There are some species that's on this earth that is not that emotional at all. They're always looking at the big picture, and to you, that's going to be evil. Okay, to us who are very, emotional or empathetic, it's going to be like, how could you do that and not care about this or not care about that? But they're looking at it like some sacrifices might have to be made, and they have the consciousness to be, or the strength to go ahead and do it. Okay, whereas you and I might not be able to do that at all. You understand what I'm saying? um Knowing, how certain people process information at that time, will let you know why this balance on this earth is so important. It's so important. So, let's switch over to the animal kingdom. Okay, just as another example, let's go to the animal kingdom. You you have your sheep. You're a farmer. All right, you have your sheep, you have your flocks, and they're taking care of you, and you have your gardens and everything. You become self-sufficient, and you're taking care of your animals, as an extension of yourself, and you're caring about them. Okay, and you'll do whatever it takes to protect your sheep, whatever it takes to protect your sheep. And you see that evil, evil, evil wolf, that's trying to come into your farm and take your flock. You take your shotgun, boom. You want to get rid of them. How dare it? Now, that's your perspective. But what perspective is the wolf's? I got cubs. I cannot feed my cubs. This is an opportunity. So, what one will see and process as an antagonist, or something malevolent, another one processes as an opportunity to thrive and to survive. And this is how the God mind starts to really operate, because you learn how to see things from different perspectives at the time. And you realize that changes had to be made because of the intention. Okay, everything could not be black and white, because when it is black and white, it causes unnecessary suffering. Okay, so it was back to the drawing board with a lot of the elves and different algorithms, to try to figure out what way would be fair. Okay, because if you put into a law by the letter, okay, and it says, you do not steal, period, right? And somebody does get caught stealing, and they have to be prosecuted because it is a violation of the law, it does not give room or any wiggle room for the intention behind the violation. So therefore you will have somebody that might have stole some corn to feed their family because they are starving, in the same boat as a mass thief, a bank robber. You understand? One that wants to be greedy, one that wants to get rich. They don't carry the same intention. So therefore, it becomes unfair for them to carry the same punishment. A lot of us have come back here to reconcile these things. And it's going to be increasingly difficult for us to do it if humanity as a whole does not understand the purpose behind it and will not change their mindset and simply hold on to that which is not working. When we say we came to set the captives free, it's to put you in a different vein of thought. Now that you understand how laws work and how people who are innocent have been suffering based off of the letter of the law because they're lacking understanding. Okay, and they're not seeing any, that they're thinking and operating in black and white. It either is or it isn't. And there's always been a gray area. It's always been the narrow path. It's always been there, but it has been carefully hidden from you. And now we're here to reveal it so you can stop the infighting and start to really, really build. It becomes a mute point trying to convince others to see things the way that you have been called to see them. Remember, we're not all the same. We're not all the same bloodline. Just because we're all brown don't mean we're all Africans or indigenous Indians, or Spanish or whatever it is. There's a lot of skin tones on this earth because there's a lot of genetic markers on this earth, okay? And you have to understand that the soul tends to gravitate to that which is healthy for its growth and evolution, which means that it might not be the same as somebody else's. The more time we spend defending our belief systems as opposed to understanding why the belief systems were there in the first place, the more behind we stay. You're in the same hamster wheel over and over and over again, defending and defending and defending that which no longer wants to be defended. And that's the part that you're failing to see. These elves that are here back on the earth to try to, make a change in humanity, they are directly responsible for the evolution itself. So sometimes you're defending a principle that they're trying to debunk because they realize it's wrong, going through a redemptive path. So you're working counterproductively to your divine self or your higher self. Is this making sense? Okay? Because we need for it to make sense, and even in relationships out here, okay? You have to understand what works for you and what was a basic principle to keep a family unit together. But when you are not identifying with the human experience, then those principles don't apply to you. We have a hard time, divine masculines and divine feminines, finding our pairing. It's because we cannot be taught or talked to the exact same way. All right? Divine masculines and feminines that are here on the earth, they're more mission based. They're looking for compatibility. So the certain things do not impress them. They'll never have a shortage of, interest. All right. So you can't come to a divine feminine woman that is on this earth, or a goddess that's on this earth that is trying to fulfill their purpose as it was given to them with things that you would do with a woman. And the same thing with men versus elves. Okay, ladies, understand that a male Elohim is going to have all types of bodies being thrown at him all day long. He's never going to be without a shortage of women. Okay, they're always going to want him. They're always going to be attracted to him. And with goddesses, it's the same thing with us. So you have to figure out what is setting you apart. And typically, when elves, people who are evenly yoked, find each other, you don't have to spend so much time throwing lines and trying to get their attention because the souls match. What's important now is, hey, what are you building? What are you focusing on? And you're just trying to see if you're a match for that. That's all. You don't have to, go out and be overly sexual or, overly flirtatious or anything like that. You just become your authentic self, and that will, as a magnet, draw another to you. And chances are y'all will have similar missions, and you will learn to see how one another fits into the whole goal. All right, but understanding that there's no shortage and there's no lines and there's no gas. Like, the things that will work with humanity is not going to work with an elf. So if you find yourself always, single or looking like, oh my God, here we go again, that's because you're of a different consciousness, and those things are not impressive to you. All right? Okay. Getting the balance back with your masculine and feminine energies is a beautiful thing. You know, everybody needs to be balanced in one way or another. Just be careful that you're not overly one way or the other, because you will find yourself, especially if you are a divine feminine woman, if you are a goddess and you're trying to operate in your femininity, or if you are masculine and you want your woman to operate in her femininity, the only way to get a goddess to be in that femininity is you have to be in your masculinity, because her nature is going to automatically balance it out. It's Shakana, okay? Or Shakana, however you want to pronounce it, all right? So it's the moon and the sun, the greater and lesser light, or the reflective light. All right. However you want to process that, understand that that's what she's designed to do as an Ezer Kenegdo. She faces him. All right. So if you are in your feminine energy, you will see automatically that your woman will be in her masculine energy, and you're not going to like that. You're not going to like that, okay? You're going to want her to remain in her feminine energy. So that way, you must learn how to deal with that emotion when it is expressive. You cannot mirror it or match it. Her role is to try to be vulnerable to you so you can understand her. And if you match the same energy by back to her, then you're going to see her polarity switch, and now she's going to balance the equation by becoming the masculine, just so she can stop the arguing. You don't give her room to heal. You don't give her room to be a woman, right? If you're constantly mirroring her, right? There's a time where, in any type of union, one should always have the ability to express themselves without feedback. There's a time and a place for all of that. So if you're a masculine and you want to be vulnerable with me, my job is to listen and to comfort you. Even if I don't agree with you at that time, there will be another time where I will get a chance to talk and you will listen to me. Okay? But that might not be the time right then and there. And a lot of masculines have to learn to balance that. And we are so grateful that you are balancing your feminine energies, because you are learning, how to relate to us a little bit better, and you're learning that you don't have to carry the whole world on your shoulder. You are learning that it's okay for you to feel and have emotions as well. And you are learning how to really love, whereas it might not have been taught to you correctly. And the same thing with women as well. Okay, all of us did not have the perfect idea or the perfect example on what to look for in a man. So we're coming into these things now. And we're also coming into the mindset of knowing that we're living amongst different types of species and different types of thoughts. And when you really start to focus on that, you know how you co-create. And I'll give you an example of that so it doesn't sound like I'm just talking mumbo jumbo, that you can see how science and spirituality can mirror. Okay? Excuse me. How do you, as an L, create your universe? Okay, how are you creating or co-creating a new earth? Okay, you have to understand that even humanity with their free will have the ability to change their immediate surroundings. What is more important, I wish my hair would just do what it needs to do and just leave me alone. What becomes more important is that when you are in God consciousness, you do not just only reflect your immediate surroundings, but you reflect surroundings for a certain mile radius. The higher level that you go, the bigger the influence that you have. So we go from just affecting our family to probably nations, worlds, things of that nature as we expand. So that's why it's important for you to master principles of the universe and understand what is going to stay, what can be altered. Okay, when you are co-creating, you have to realize that the way that you process your surroundings, the people that's around you, situations, is how your life is going to mirror that experience, and how everything is going to grow from your perspective of it. All right. Case in point, you have a friend, somebody else has the exact same friend that you have, right? You and that friend fall out. Y'all don't get along, okay, anymore. You realize that this person that used to be in your life was, say, sneaky or sabotaging or jealous, or mean spirited, whatever it is that made you decide, I'm going to cut this person completely off. I don't like this person. I'm going to love them from a distance, but they're not going to be a part of my immediate reality. In the meantime, that person that you cut off has a friend, and that other friend is saying, oh my God, this right here is like my best friend in the world. She's always this. She's loyal. She's supportive. You're not having the same experience with this woman, right? So now, when you're going through your everyday life and you're processing this woman who is in it, okay, you have barriers pulled up, okay? Your process with this woman has been exceedingly negative. So things that's surrounding her is also negative. Okay, so now your reality is now morphed around your direct experiences with the people in your reality. All right, so you're going to make different moves. Okay, you're going to process information differently. It'll become more negative to you, where the other woman, everything is going to be positive to her. So her reality is going to expand in positivity around that situation, that person, whereas yours will expand in negativity. The same concept. Do you understand? So, in order to balance these things, you have to alchemize it in order to receive the same positive results in your universe as the other one. You cannot sit in a vein of negativity, even if you have a negative experience. You have to learn how to change that, alchemize it so that you continue to build positively. How would you alchemize a person that did you dirty, backstabbed you, that you have this negative experience with? How would you? Because it's not changing. Just because you're thinking, oh, I'm going to think positive, doesn't mean that you're going to automatically shift the way that person has treated you or your perspective of it. The way that you will alchemize it is to understand that everything is a lesson for you to take you to a higher level. Okay, so that person may have entered in your life and did all of that, but the question is why? What did I learn from it? Okay, this is what that person is. This is a nice little lesson for me. I wish them well. I don't have to deal with them, but now I'm going to alchemize the negativity to the positive and say, okay, they came in here and really taught me a lesson. So this is what I need to watch out for in the future. This person actually made me stronger. This person gave me a higher level of understanding, and now I'm going to attract more of my like kind, and I'm going to look at it for exactly what it is. Okay, and then we start to grow our reality in that way, by that mental alchemy. We are co-creating. Look at your surroundings. Look at all of the things that are changing. Look at the bills that are changing. Look at look at the things around you, and ask yourself, did I play a part in this? Okay, and what is the major thing that I'm here to do right now? Do I want to stay in these hamster wheels and keep experiencing the same things over again? Or am I going to reconcile these paradoxes and create something brand new and bring people along with me? Am I going to keep up with what was said? Or am I going to build upon it? Build upon it and make it more expansive, more beautiful, more bright. When you start to understand that different species process things in different ways, it keeps you out of the judgmental vein. Okay, it may not be with for you, and you have every single right to say that's not for me. Okay, I'm going to stay on this vein, or I don't like that vein. But you do not have to like something to accept that it is what it is, and for whatever reason that it is. And the only way that you get to see the bigger picture is when you are expansive in your thought, and you can look down upon that and see, okay, what is this designed to do for humanity as a whole, for our people as a whole? Okay? And that's all I wanted to share with you guys, because everything has been interesting. Also, for I think for about 2 days, my whole area had a cable, like an internet outage, and they were actually branding it on TV as the city that's off grid. Okay, and it was an interesting experiment to see how people was going to react without going, without internet for a couple of days. Sorry, I was just adjusting my wood. And come, nothing really happened. Like there wasn't really any panic. Like people were just outside. They was riding bikes. My neighbors were playing volleyball. Like people was just okay. So where is all of this propaganda of panic, all the time? Maybe that is, reserved to a different timeline. You are the author of your own, though, right? And you have to get your mindset. You have to get your mindset right. Okay? Understand what these things were designed to do. Look at the bigger picture of things. Stay out of this little cocoon of thought. Okay? You can present it, you can learn it. Okay? If it was for you, to learn, if you gravitated to it, it's for you to learn. Okay? If it makes sense to you, if it resonates for you, it was for you to learn. Okay? It is for you. All right? But if you're forcing something to fit and you can't see how it fits, you can't comprehend it, you don't understand its meaning, it wasn't for you. It wasn't for you. All right. It doesn't mean that one's higher or greater than the other. It means that we have certain paths that we have to walk to balance out these equations. And none of us were really designed to think the same. Okay. But when we are put together in a beautiful little machine and the machine works well, it works exceedingly well. All right. I want you to have a good day. That's all I have to say to you. My name is Sophie. I love you all. Bye bye.